Committee is meeting today to examine the security challenges brought forth by increased passenger screening, checkpoint wait times. But before I begin my opening statement, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the victims and their families of Egypt Air 804. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Today we face a crisis at our airports, and we've all read the headlines. 3-hour-long security lines, 430 American Airlines passengers stranded overnight in Chicago O'Hare, travelers from Atlanta, Charlotte, and Alaska waiting forever to be screened, causing missing flights and further delays. More than 3,000 bags failed to get loaded onto planes in time to Phoenix, an 80% increase in wait times at JFK Airport compared to this time last year. This is unacceptable, and it is time for Congress to act. Administrator, the American people are angry and frustrated as we head into the busiest travel season of the year, starting this Memorial Day weekend, and they deserve answers. This crisis didn't just come out of nowhere. Airports and airlines have been sounding the alarm for months. There's no doubt that part of the challenge we face is a high terror threat environment. But wait times are not soaring simply because security is much tighter. It's because the TSA bureaucracy has gotten weaker. The agency has struggled to keep up with the high demand and has been unable to put the right people the right place at the right time. Change is not happening fast enough. Admiral Neffinger, I know you are working hard to reform TSA's broken bureaucracy, and today I hope to hear how you will confront this crisis swiftly. But Congress will not sit back as the situation gets worse. And that is why this committee in the House of Representatives passed legislation to fix this problem. I commend my colleague, Mr. Katko, for offering these bills. Among other measures, our legislation would accelerate TSA's pre-check program, which helps reduce wait times by putting low-risk travelers through expedited screening. Unfortunately, the Senate has failed to pass these bills, which in my judgment is unconscionable. And so today, I'd like to send my message to my colleagues in the other body. It's time to get moving, because the American people are fed up with this. This week, we will introduce yet another bill to attack this problem, and I hope that this time we can get it to the President's desk more quickly. And in the coming months, we will take a broader look at TSA, including first ever authorization of the agency, which will give us an opportunity to make wider reforms and long-term changes. Additionally, we plan to take up legislation to enhance TSA's screening partnership program. But as I noted, we must also take into account the serious aviation threats that we face. And I think the events of the Egyptian airliner demonstrate that. And although investigators are still working to determine the cause of Egypt Air crash, one fact is clear. Terrorists are trying to bring down airplanes, and the aviation sector is their crown jewel target. This month, I led a congressional delegation to the Middle East and Northern Africa to examine the spread of terror safe havens. And we walked away concerned that screening is inadequate at some of these last points of departure airports that have direct flights into the United States. For instance, airports like Cairo lack full-body scanners to detect non-metallic IEDs, and they lack access to comprehensive terror watch lists for screening their employees. This is a concern, we know, because militants are trying to recruit insiders and inside jobs to take down passenger jets. We've seen this twice in recent months, including an attack in Somalia and one against a Russian jet flying out of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. But this is not just a problem in the Middle East or Northern Africa. Just this past December, Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, which has 50 direct flights into the United States every day, they fired 70 employees who were suspected of having extremist connections. 70. We have to get help. We have to help our foreign partners weed out these extremists. Again, the House and this committee passed 2 bills to ramp up security at overseas airports, and yet again, these bills are sitting in the Senate, stalling, waiting for action. It is unconscionable. It's time for the Senate to act, and the President will sign them into law. We cannot afford further delay because American lives are at risk. And as we adapt to the evolving threat, we must also make sure agencies like TSA adapt their business models to keep travel flowing smoothly. Terrorists would like nothing more than for us to undermine our own economy by allowing air transportation to grind to a halt. Admiral Neffinger, we've given TSA the resources it asked for to make screening more efficient. Congress even granted a recent request to reallocate $34 million to hire nearly 800 new TSA officers before July and to pay for additional overtime for existing personnel. Today, we expect you to tell us how you are putting these resources to work and how you're going to address the crisis at our airports once and for all. I want to thank the Admiral for being here today. I want to thank you for your service to our country.